Today, I want to talk about a subject that is a little bit sensitive. So, trigger warning. I want to talk about death dates. Is an individual's death date set in stone? Let's explore this and let's make sure that we explore it through love.
This is your moment. This is your moment in time. This is your moment. This is your moment.
As many of you know, I do crossing over work. And in essence, that's helping spirits cross over who are struggling a little bit with their transition. When we pass, our spirit needs to cross back over to the other side. And there's a whole bunch of steps in that process. One question I get when teaching people about crossing over or talking about it in general, it's a very common question is, are people's death dates set in stone? Is it decided before they ever come down exactly when and how they're going to pass? Let's explore that a little bit. And it's really important to say that we're going to explore this with love. I know it's a very sensitive subject, and I completely and deeply respect that. Please know that I'm going to approach this with all open possibilities as I approach most everything, really. When it comes to someone's passing, everyone passes different time frames, different ways. Some people, it's perhaps a terminal illness, and it'll take them a while to process through their transition and before they release from the body. Some people pass very quickly. It's different for every single situation. So, what I want to do is pull away a little bit from the concept that there is a date set in stone and instead talk about what happens around the process of someone leaving Earth to return back to the other side. When we leave Earth, when we pass, we leave behind a ripple effect for everyone that we knew, for all of our loved ones, all of our soulmates and our friends and our families and our coworkers and people that, even just casual acquaintances. There is a ripple effect that happens. Death is more of something that happens as your final act. We'll say that. The ripple effect that happens as a result of when and where and how is really important in the journey for everyone experiencing that. Now, is it easy? No. Is it painful? Yes. For those, especially for those left behind, processing through how and when is very, very painful. Very, very painful. And grief is unique for every single person. The more we can honor their process of grief, the better off we are as a whole, as a community, showing up for each other. When it comes to passing, for most, yes, the date and how they were going to pass was preset before they came down, but it was probably only preset if they knew at that time that the ripple effect that was going to happen as a result of them passing would happen perfectly on that date and perfectly at that time. Otherwise, there are individuals that come down here with a much more fluid day on the time that they're going to leave and cross back over as well. And we see that sometimes in family coming together in hospice, where you can hear people reminiscing about, okay, I was in hospice with my grandmother or my mom or my dad, and when they finally were able to trust and know that we were okay, that's when they let go. There's more control over when we pass than just a set date in stone. So I guess my answer for this video is no. For the most part, there's not really an exact moment or date. What is set in stone is the ripple effect that is supposed to happen for the highest good of all. And I say the highest good of all, the ripple effect does bring pain and sorrow and grief, but we all end up having to go home, and the timing is important. So for many, it will be that they have, the person that's passing has a little bit of say in, hey, I'm not ready. I'm not ready. Okay, I'm ready now. Or the person knows that they have to leave quickly. That ripple effect is the most important piece. Now, I have met individuals, and when I talk about some examples, you're going to be like, I've either experienced that, or I've heard somebody else experience that. I have met individuals as a professional medium, having done so many readings for so many years. I've met individuals who had situations happen where everyone was like, wow, I am shocked that they survived that. I remember doing a reading for a beautiful woman, and her brother had gotten into two motorcycle accidents, both without helmets, both very severe, walked away from both with little to no injury, and then accidentally years later slipped on a stair and hit his head, and that was what caused his passing. So we all have heard experiences, or perhaps even had some, where somebody that we knew or we loved or that we heard about has a situation that unfolds, and people think, wow, that's it's shocking that they're still here. Well, they're still here because the ripple effect of them passing, it wasn't time. So it's not only time, when somebody does pass, it's not only time for them to go home, but it's also time for this experience to happen. I know a lot of us don't want that experience to happen because it can be really brutal. But for many, the timing is the most important piece, put it that way. And when it comes to surprises like out of the blue, we've all heard stories like that as well. It was like, wow, did not expect this. So we can have situations where we didn't expect somebody who was in a situation where they should have passed. We didn't expect them to live. And then the opposite is true, that that came out of left field. I would have never expected that as well. So the timing happens in an unusual way, but it always happens because in a ripple effect way, because we're connected. Everyone's connected. We're all connected. And how and what happens to this individual over here is going to shake through their spider web of connections, their beautiful, loving, connectedness. It's going to shake through it, and it's going to affect each person in a specific way. When somebody can exit and go back, to have that ripple effect for the long run, very important to say that, for the long run, affect everybody in the best way. And I say it that way very specifically because in the short run, it doesn't affect everybody the best way. It's a very, very emotional time and difficult time, but in the long run, it does. And sometimes it's a very long run. Okay. But our arrival here as babies, our departure here when we go home, is not necessarily by chance. And it's a little bit more by, what does that do in our soul group? What does that do amongst all of our connections? And how does that ripple effect affect everyone? And what can be an outcome for it? We all have to show up at some point. We all have to go home at some point. And I guess the loving way to say this, even though it can be so traumatic and so painful and so difficult, the loving way to say this is that we make sure that we enter in the perfect time for our loved ones. And we make sure that we go to be a part of that ripple effect for our loved ones. Notice I don't say the perfect time for our loved ones, because it is not a perfect time to go. Nope, I don't. In the rare occasion when somebody has this just amazing life and they've lived 103, they might have all of their family around them going, you did awesome, this is the perfect time for you to go. But in every other situation, that's not the human emotional experience. The connection does separate and hurt, and there's a transition of grief. But it's all done for the highest good of all, overall. If we could change something, what would we change? Possibly that they don't go. But if nobody ever went, it would be really tough. So we have to transition in and out. Guess one thing I want you to take away from this is not only are death dates not set in stone, like not absolutely scheduled for every single person. For some, they are, because before they come down, you know that no matter what happens, that is going to be the perfect time. At 103, when they're all celebrating around me, it's going to be the perfect time. But for many who come down here, it's a matter of navigating through the life until the timing is right. And then when the timing is right, it will happen. Also, I want to express that people who are passing and crossing over have those on the other side, guides, team members, loved ones, their higher self, the supportive source, angelic beings. They're all coming around to assist in this transition. Never is somebody who is passing ever alone. We're here with them here. There's teams that are with them on the other side, loved ones that come on the other side. They absolutely do. This can be a fluid process. Someone can get close, but it just wasn't the right timing. And then they can come back around and stay for a little bit. And then the timing changes also. These challenges are very challenging for those that are here after somebody passes. It's a very challenging time. It is a beautiful transition for the person to go home. You've heard people with near-death experiences say, there was a light, it was beautiful, I was just pulled toward it. There was so much love, and they were be able to come back and express that, which is a beautiful thing. But the death date itself, not set in stone. Not set in stone. We are connected in such a magnificent way. And I really want to drive this point home. The connection doesn't end. It does not end. When someone passes, really, they're letting go only of that physical body, but they're just as connected to you as they ever were. We just lose that physicality. We lose that solid substance. And that's not something to say lightly. If you're a parent, if you have a brother or a sister or a best friend that you love so dearly, you know what that physical hug means. You know what it means emotionally to be able to look them in the eyes. So we know that there's that connection. It's still there. I celebrate science and what they're exploring right now. I think it's a wonderful thing to bring that into the world, to say, hey, yeah, we're seeing something here. And then all the intuitives are like, yay, we can start talking about this on both sides, which is a wonderful thing. But the connection doesn't end. It doesn't. It's there, and it's just as strong, but it does lack that physical component. Honor that. Honor your experience with it. Doesn't change the grief. The grief is there. Your grief is equal to the amount of love and compassion and care you had with that person. But know that the connection doesn't change. Just the stepping in and the stepping out of the physical form. So that's the subject of death dates. I have so many people asking me about it. I actually teach a crossing over course. If you want to dive deep into the crossing over process, what happens for an individual when they pass, how to assist people in their transition when they are passing and after they pass. If you're interested in all things crossing over, it's a very in-depth course, and I highly suggest you check it out because it'll answer a lot of questions. In summary, for this video, we come in with perfect timing for a ripple effect, and we leave with excellent timing for a ripple effect. We honor all those that experience the emotions around an arrival and the emotions around a departure. And we deeply respect the joy, the love, the grief, the pain, the transition, and the experience of all of it. But no, you're always watched over, you're always connected, you're always supported, and those around you, here and there, they love you deeply because you're amazing and you're connected. It's a wonderful thing. If you have more questions about the death process and transition and what happens spiritually, feel free to ask me those questions in the comment section below. It's really helpful for me to be able to keep creating awesome content for you to help you on your journey in navigating this beautiful spiritual world that you are thriving in.
This is your moment.